Welcome to SLOP. Uh, yeah, maybe that's title's a work in progress, uh, but this is brought to you by Alabamians in the Democratic Socialists of America, and we're here to talk about some things that may not be happening in Alabama. And we got with us tonight, Jason.
Hello, comrades.
I do love your cheery hello at the beginning of the shows. I really do. And yeah, we're gonna try to talk about some ice stuff going on, maybe hit a couple pop culture things, and uh, see where we get to. All right, and we are gonna try to share a video. Let's see.
It's not gonna happen.
All right.
Now, police have issued a dispersal order right outside of the federal building. This is one of the few areas that the National Guard have been staging. We should say about an hour ago, we were here as swarms of police officers in riot gear came into this area. They've created these skirmish lines here. You can see them. They have batons on. They look prepared to be able to fire non-lethal rounds. And beyond that, they've created this line, this standoff here with those protesters as they try to clear
there's
this
a Tesla.
area. Press, we have been told to stay on this corner here. There's another crowd of protesters growing, all as protests continue to grow nationwide.
Tonight, anti-immigration enforcement protests spreading nationwide. Overnight in Austin, tear gas used to break up crowds. And in San Francisco, arrests from clashes with police. And for the fifth day in a row, protesters taking to the streets of downtown Los Angeles.
There is a way to go about things, but this isn't one to just tear families apart.
Protesters again briefly shutting down the major 101 freeway. Police swarming the highway, arresting 67 people. LA's mayor announcing a curfew downtown. 700 Marines soon to arrive to the city. Tonight, California Governor Gavin Newsom asking a court to block soldiers from enforcing immigration laws, posting the federal government is turning the military against American citizens. President Trump saying if he did not deploy them and the National Guard, things would be much worse.
What you're witnessing in California is a full-blown assault on peace, on public order, and on national sovereignty carried out by rioters bearing foreign flags. Very simply, we will liberate Los Angeles and make it free, clean, and safe again.
President Trump noting the LAPD chief said Sunday the department was overwhelmed. But tonight, Chief Jim McDonnell telling us it's unclear what the Marines will do.
Have you been given any communication from the federal government about Marines coming here to the city?
You know, I've heard like everybody else has, mostly through the media.
Tonight, NBC News learning that the Marines could be used to provide security and transportation to ICE agents during their operations to arrest undocumented immigrants. Of Capitol Hill, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pressed by Democrats about the cost of the National Guard deployment.
Could the Secretary please address the budget? Thank you.
You asked about the situation in Los Angeles, and we believe ICE agents should be allowed to be safe in doing their operations.
The Pentagon revealing it will cost roughly $134 million. All after overnight new violent clashes between protesters and police. A car lit on fire. Some businesses looted, including this Apple store in downtown LA. So far, more than 100 arrests have been made, and the FBI now offering a $50,000 reward for this protester who allegedly pelted ICE agents' vehicles with rocks over the weekend. This video showing a New York Post photographer getting hit in the face by a rubber bullet from police as protesters took over a major highway Sunday. Well, DHS confirming ICE agents carried out more enforcement operations Monday targeting undocumented gang members. Democratic Mayor Karen Bass demanding all ICE raids stop.
The real solution of all of this is for the administration to stop the raids.
Maria Fabila owns the black tie tuxedo just blocks from the protest. She's an immigrant herself, but does not support the protesters, saying she's been forced to temporarily close her store.
What is your message to the protesters right now?
I'm very scared. No good. No, it's very, very bad for the economy, for the state, California.
You're scared?
Yeah, very, very scared.
Liz joins us again live. Liz, I understand just as we went to your report, some flashbangs went off behind you. What's going on?
Didn't interview a single protester.
Yeah, so we're
But they found
in
the
a
one
crowd of
person who opposes
protesters
it.
right now. There's sort of two crowds of protesters. Between them is that skirmish line of police. And we did hear some flashbangs. For the most part right now, it is peaceful, but the standoff does seem to be escalating here. And we should say, Tom,
Notice
we
the
have
A
not
crab on the
seen
back of the
Marines
sign
on the
there.
streets of LA.
Hell
We
yeah.
have seen National Guard, but just in the perimeter of federal buildings, Tom.
So yeah,
You actually played a video. How about that?
I did. It took me. I had to really prepare for that too. I had to watch it once and then like make sure I rewound, and I think I got it. But if that's the way that I got to do videos, that's not going to last a whole long time. We might do one video show, but that's probably all we need. Yeah. There's, and see this map right here is actually incomplete. So there's a lot to talk about right there. There's the fact that like the protests are like really limited to like 4 little districts in
LA.
Yeah.
It's in downtown. It's in downtown LA. It's like only a few blocks wide. And they're saying,
Right.
oh, LA is burning. And of course it isn't. But even if it were, you know, people are being snatched from the streets by a goon squad.
Put here by Biden or the auto pen.
Yeah.
The auto pen really did.
Oh, it did.
People,
Here.
whether it's Lisa Monaco or whoever operated the auto pen, these are criminals. The people are criminals that allowed these criminals.
Let me start that over.
These large-scale ICE operations in Los Angeles. Should people expect to see similar operations in the rest of the country?
Yeah.
And will similar protests?
Yeah, as you know, we're moving murderers out of our country that were put here by Biden or the auto pen. The auto pen really did.
The auto
People,
pen.
whether it's Lisa Monaco or whoever operated the auto pen, these are criminals. The people are criminals that allowed these criminals into our country. And I don't think that Biden knew what the hell he was doing. I don't think he even knew about it. But when they opened up our borders for the whole world to come in, yeah, we're going to get them out. We're getting them out. We're starting to get acknowledgement from the courts that, you know, there's a system. They come in without courts and they go out, they want trials and everything else. I think that's starting to work out now. Judges are starting to see what a terrible situation it is. Many of those people that you saw on television last night are criminals that were allowed into our country by Biden. And they want to stay, and we don't want them. And they come from jails, and they come from mental institutions, and they come from all over
The asylum.
world, not just South
They're
America.
seeking asylum.
And we're not going to let them stay. And this is the first, perhaps, of many, or perhaps, you know, if we didn't attack this one very strongly, you'd have them all over the country. But I can inform the rest of the country that when they do it, if they do it, they're going to be met with equal or greater force than we met right here. We did a great job. The people, you, Christy, and Tom Holman, and all of the people, Pete Hegseth, all of the people involved did an amazing job. We stopped a disaster. And it looks like a planned disaster, not just, this didn't just happen. They had weapons, they had tools, they had everything you needed. I mean, they were throwing iced water in bottles, in glass bottles at officers.
Anything but that.
At soldiers.
Nobody's throwing glass bottles. Those are the expensive
use the word
ones.
insurrection, but you could also use the word, these are very dangerous people. They're bad people. They were met with heavy force and they folded. And they may be there a little bit tonight. They may be there a little bit, but it seems to be getting less and less because they're going there and they're met with a very heavy force. And if they weren't, you would have that city right now would be on fire. It would be burning down. The rest of it, what's left over. Because the other fire was started because they wouldn't allow water into LA. They wouldn't allow water
the folding
into California because they had it all shifted out to the Pacific Ocean. And I turned it around. And I told them to do it in my first term. And they didn't do it. We had COVID and they didn't do it. And I told them to do it. We did it in the second. Now we have billions of gallons of water flowing down. But Newsom should have done this. He's an incompetent.
Yeah, he not to forget that he wrecked some farming with releasing all that water to nothing. But yeah, as he says, they're folding as protests spread to 35 cities. And yeah, we got them all along the coast. Alabama is not represented yet, but I have a feeling it will be. Yeah. Corey says in Manhattan, the ICE agents decided to walk back into their garage because the people wouldn't let them out. There are more of us than there are them. Very true.
Something similar happened in Los Angeles, where they had surrounded the building and wouldn't let the ICE agents leave.
Yeah,
so yeah, we definitely outnumber them, and if we have a little bit of courage and a little bit of tenacity.
Very much so. Let's see here. There's, and a couple highlights of all these criminals that are being scooped up, like this 9-month pregnant U.S. citizen. I can't fight back. I'm pregnant. Carrie Lopez told a local station after she and her undocumented husband were arrested. So yeah, they're scooping up children. I think I saw reports of a 2-year-old getting deported and like a 4-year-old getting cancer treatment. Nobody's really buying this stuff from what I can tell. Yeah, it's not the first instance. ICE, which displays the motto "Honor First," manhandled a pregnant U.S. citizen, according to a March report in the Idaho State Journal. Kayla Samariba, a 25-year-old who at the time was 7 months pregnant, was driving her undocumented husband and brother-in-law to a court hearing in Spokane Valley, Idaho, when they were surrounded by a half dozen ICE and DHS vehicles. So, yeah,
Honor first. Give me a break.
Yeah.
That reminds me of, wasn't one of the Nazi slogans, Blut und Ehre, blood and honor?
Yeah. Blood and honor, blood and soil. They're also, California is the breadbasket of the United States. They produce about 25% of the nation's food, and they've started hitting the farms. ICE raids hit farms and food plants as ICE targets agriculture. On Tuesday, dozens of workers were taken from their posts in fields and packing houses across the heart of California's farmland, from San Joaquin Valley to the coast. Dozens were also taken from a small meat packing plant in Omaha, Nebraska. I saw a video of folks in Omaha climbing onto the vehicle as it's moving, trying to stop it. Also, 11 workers were arrested from a dairy farm in New Mexico. It's a dangerous game being played, which will impacts of which will ricochet across the food industry. Immigrants power it all, from the farming to the packing and processing to the staffing of most kitchen restaurants, or in this case, restaurant kitchens. And to feed everyone, they work some of the most dangerous jobs out there. Many jobs that employers say would otherwise go unfilled. Price hikes and shortages are only the start of what shoppers will start to feel. Now, a little good news, a Florida bill that tried to basically let children work overnight shifts and starting at like the age of 14 failed in Florida, with their thoughts being, kick the immigrants out and make the children, because the children yearn for the fields. They yearn for the mines.
They yearn for the mines. That's right.
So we are seeing protests. and we are seeing them grow. But much like the 60s, if you look back to polls during the 60s about the civil rights movement, you know, this poll is way better because back in the 60s, it was like a 60 to 80% range for about if the civil rights movement was doing the right way to protest. But from YouGov, do you believe the participants in Los Angeles in the past week against ICE and customs, blah, blah, actions have been mostly peaceful, 35%, mostly violent, 42%, not sure, 23%. We, look by region, it's similar. Look by it's a little higher if you look by gender over here and lower with women. Oddly enough, higher for mostly peaceful with the male population. Politics, Dems, mostly peaceful, 61%. 31% with independents, 13% with Republicans, mostly violent, 71% with Republicans. Age, the young folks skewing higher, mostly peaceful, mostly violent, 32% compared to 42. And of course, we see that change over here with the 65 plus. They're at 53%. And then the my generation right here, God, I'm in the 64 band now. Oh, I'm fucking sad. 47%. And race, white, 35%, mostly peaceful, in line, 41% with black folks. Severe decline over here with mostly violent with black folks. And oddly enough, Hispanic folks skewing a little, hit the average, but a little low with mostly peaceful, and other folks at 41% mostly peaceful.
And clearly, mostly peaceful, mostly violent are stand-ins for do you support the protests or not? Because people,
Right.
we've decided that peaceful is, mostly quote unquote peaceful is good.
Yeah. Not little bit back to deportations. Now, I was thinking that the first star that was going to get deported was going to be Dora the Explorer. I thought that was going to be the first celebrity deported, but saw earlier this week somebody snitched on this guy. Kabe Lame, I think is how you pronounce that. I am not on TikTok, but apparently he's a funny young guy that started doing TikToks when this is him at the Met Gala. But apparently they're snitching on celebrities now, and he's an Italian Senegalese creator, and they asked him to self-deport, which apparently he did. But Met Gala was just when was it? May 5th. So that was over a month ago. Him looking dapper. I like the hat. Like the what is it called? The material for that hat looks nice.
It looks like some kind of felt to me.
Yeah, like a real haberdasher. So yeah, and what's going on in the city? Let's see. They've started a curfew that goes from 8 at night to 6 in the morning, and Los Angeles mayor calls out Trump's double standard amid reports that more troops are in LA than Iraq and Syria. This isn't. Let's see if I can see what happens if I refresh. And she says the curfew will go on as long as needed. You know, various things happening. The Guardian has a good timeline about what's going on. Something else. The Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who's deported. They brought him back, but now they're charging him with human trafficking. I guess we'll see about that. And other such things. Yeah, Guardian, no paywall, which is nice. But we got here Homeland Security tweeting about whatever, doing their little propaganda, right? As expected. And if you notice at the protests, there's, Mexican flags there because there's 74% of the immigrant population in that area are Mexican Americans. And, California used to be part of Mexico, right?
And they're being targeted because of where they're from.
Yeah.
So it's a way of showing that they're proud of where they come from. And just like if Americans immigrated to other places, we would absolutely be flying American flags in that place. So,
there's literally bars all across the world that are, quote, American bars, right? Like you go to Germany, they'll have the local American bar in some cities, or the Philippines, or hell, there's probably one in Vietnam by now, to be honest. But yeah.
See, I've seen a lot of hand wringing about the Mexican flags on both sides of the aisle, and I wish they both would can it. So,
yeah,
fly Mexican flag.
Yeah. Well, there's only a handful of flags. I'm really not. I'm really, this isn't the Nazi flag, right? This is the flag of the German Reich. But yeah.
Right. And it's not the Confederate flag either, which conservatives are all for.
Yeah.
We've seen all these other protests featuring Ukrainian flags and Israeli flags, and nobody said a word about that. But they have all these, but suddenly, the Mexican flag is uniquely offensive. It might be worth asking yourself why that is.
It's kind of making me want to order one, or at least go down to the local tienda, and they got some cool hats, some cool Mexican hats I saw. Saw one with a eagle and colors on it, and I was like, yo, that's pretty dope, actually. Can I pull it off is the question.
Right.
But I might be picking that up this week in solidarity. Oh, we got another guest. Thank you for showing up.
We continue our tradition of non-complete unprofessionality here.
Yeah.
So all the unprofessionality you expect from Cornbread and Roses, we're going to bring even more of that to SLOP.
But faster. So, yeah, let's see. And this was new. I just saw this. David Ho will not run again for DNC vice chair in the new election. That just popped up. But if you didn't know, David Hogue, he was one of the people that survived a shooting. It was down in Florida, right? I think, and has gone into politics since then. And the old guard of the DNC do not like him. And after he won his election, they decided to do it again, right? Because, you know, why not? Why not? Why don't we get somebody instead of this like young 20-year-old as the vice chair? Why don't we get somebody who is 80?
Actively dying of cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's the thing, that big, beautiful bill, that thing wouldn't have passed if 3 Democrats didn't die in office. They were in their 60s, 70s, 80s. Let's see who's running.
The Democratic Party can't be reformed from within. It's a fool's errand to even try. Like, the people who run the party will not let you even talk about making the party better. They would rather lose than win, I swear. As long as it means that they get to be in charge and they get to set the party's agenda. They're controlled opposition at this point. And if they're,
Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for showing up. We do love SLOP. And Corey's asking who's running, and it looks like Malcolm Kenyatta is the only candidate eligible for the male vice chair role. I'm not sure exactly what his deal is, but you know, I could guess. He says here that Malcolm Kenyatta is an American politician from North Philly, a member of the Democratic Party, served as vice chair of the DNC from February to June of 2025. So he,
if I'm going to be in it, I'm going to be in it. Sorry.
And serves as a Pennsylvania state rep, and he was also a nominee for the Auditor General in Pennsylvania. And yeah, does not trying to pick up anything about his. He does not support an immediate transition to Medicare for all. Well, there's that. Yeah. So he seems like, you know, average Democrat, right? What is it? What's the baseball term? Replacement level Democrat, replacement level player, replacement level Democrat. So yeah, that's who is taking over David Hogue's position. Yeah, I wanted to kind of tie some of this stuff into they're really going off the rails over here. This was just like a timeline of what's happening in LA. They threw some curveballs here. Yeah, and then as we heard in the video, the local police are finding everything out about the military stuff through social media, which is, I guess that's a good thing, right? I mean, they're not in direct contact with each other. I feel like that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, it's going to be the Keystone Cops. Like, there's not going to be good communication between the groups. They're just going to all be there. Like, CHP is out there. You've got the LAPD is out there. The LASD is out there. Like, you have all these different groups, and I doubt they're like very well coordinated.
No, absolutely not.
And Trump is sending in the National Guard and the Marines in part to show off what a tough guy he is.
Yeah, and Abbott down in Texas has also deployed the National Guard as well.
You've probably seen the pictures of like National Guardsmen sleeping on top of each other because they didn't bother to provide places for them to stay. And it's the same with the Marines.
And yet they're spending $126+ million on the operation, but them folks ain't even got no cots. Like, they couldn't pull cots from supply on their way out, which is, pretty funny. pretty funny. But I wanted to tie some of this back into what started happening in 1930s Germany. And I didn't get to read everything because it is quite prolific, but as the Nazis rose in Germany, things started to happen. And one of the things was a boycott. Sound familiar? BDS. But there's international boycotts arose in the U.S. and the UK and around the world. Something that I found interesting was like right here. That the Central Jewish Association of Germany felt obligated to issue a statement of support for the regime and held that the responsible government authorities are unaware of the threatening situation. We do not believe our German fellow citizens will let themselves be carried away into committing excesses against the Jews. Prominent Jewish business leaders wrote letters in support of the Nazi regime, calling on officials in the Jewish community in Palestine. Hey, what is that I hear? Just the Jewish community in Palestine in like 1933, as well as Jewish organizations abroad to drop their efforts in organizing an economic boycott. The Association of German National Jews, a marginal group that supported Hitler in his early years, also argued against the Jewish boycott of German goods. So, I've heard of the Jews for Hitler thing a while ago, but I just find it interesting to look back, and because I always think that, as the saying goes, history might not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes, right? But one of the more interesting things with the boycotts that happened and associated protests outside of Germany was that the Jewish war veterans of the United States were the key leaders in this. They were the key leaders, and they actually, because there was pushback in the U.S. by American Jews against boycotts and whatnot. So it took veterans to pick up the mantle against this. And at a protest, had about 20,000 folks take part in March. And there's a series of rallies. March 27, 1933, that took place like in Madison Square Garden. There's an overflow crowd of 55,000 inside and outside the arena. Parallel events in Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and 70 other locations, with proceedings at the New York rally broadcast worldwide. Speakers included labor unions, American Federation of Labor, former governor, Christian clergymen, rabbis, who's a spiritual leader of the congregation Kahila Jesru. You can probably pronounce that shit better than I can, dude. But yeah, so a lot of history that we get taught, at least when I was growing up, there was the History Channel that just talked about the war, right? And then there was, Corey, you're right, dude. Like, I was just thinking about that myself. Like, go bring some Zen, just feed all the troopers Zen, Rippets, Monsters, beef jerky, and boom, they'll drop them shields real quick. So yeah, boycotts began in March 33 and continued till 1941 when they entered the war. And there were some other things that occurred. German imports to the U.S. reduced by nearly a quarter. Goebbels expressed that it was cause for much concern. And German pharmaceutical companies were particularly hard hit. Nearly 2/3 of the 652 practicing Jewish doctors in mandatory Palestine stopped prescribing German medicines. However, at the same time, Zionists were brokering, you got this I love. Zionists were brokering the Havara Agreement with Germany to open trade in exchange for sending German Jews to Palestine. When German immigrants arrived in Palestine, they would receive a portion of their capital, a portion in the form of goods, and the rest in pounds sterling. The benefits for both sides were numerous. First, the agreement would drastically increase German Jewish immigration, fulfilling a central plank of the Nazi Party. It would also further the goals of the Zionists, who could help populate Palestine with prosperous immigrants whose money could vastly improve the struggling economy. Likewise, the capital purchases of German imports would be a boon for the depression-ravaged German economy at the time when the Nazi regime had promised to return the Reich to economic prosperity, which they never really did. So yeah, and significant boycott started March 15th, 37. Rally held so by the time the Second World War began, tens of thousands of Germans had immigrated to Palestine under the Havara, and more than $35 million worth of Jewish capital had been transferred from Germany to Palestine. And there's Nazi counter boycotts, etc. But Jay Money, do you see any parallels and connections to anything that's happening nowadays?
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
Well,
lay it out.
I just find it interesting how it's basically 100 years later, and there's parallels with the immigration issues that are here in the United States and the way the government is, responding, much like Nazi Germany and what they did Jewish people. But then it also ties into what's happening in Palestine and how, like we're talking about 1933 in this portion where, the Zionist movement was already trying to do things, and how they brokered a deal with the Nazis. And, I just find it wild how feels like we're still in the same place as a world in a lot of ways, even 100 years later. But yeah, I saw some other interesting things that, the persecution of Black people in Nazi Germany, this thing called the Kwame Affair, which was about a Ghanaian German citizen trying to speak and give sermons, like over 100 sermons throughout Germany in 1932. And, it's very interesting. I find we just feel so much in the same place as back then. You know what I'm saying?
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I appreciate it.
There's some parallels.
Yeah.
Fascism is fascism, and they're gonna behave similarly.
Right.
And there's gonna be like some differences among the exact implementation, but there's definitely gonna be some parallels for sure.
Yeah. And I was also like, before we get to that, actually, let me do this instead. But, you know, the resistance, German resistance to Nazism. I read through some of this, and it was very disorganized from what I could tell. It looked like Austria did quite a good job, even though they were trying to bring back a Habsburg monarchy, but they did well finding, like, you know, military facilities and the camps and all that stuff, and passing that information back to the Allies. But the resistance in Germany seemed very disorganized, from what I can tell. And, you know, they finally got some buy-in in like the late into the war to assassinate Hitler. But, you know, the resistance started in the 30s, and let's see, and right here. Opposition based on this widespread dissatisfaction usually took passive forms: absenteeism, lingering, spreading rumors, trading on the black market, hoarding and avoiding various forms of state service, such as donation to Nazi causes. Sometimes it took more active forms, such as warning people about to be arrested, hiding them, helping them to escape, or turning a blind eye to oppositionist activities. Among the industrial working class were the underground SPD and KPD, which I think were the socialists and the communists.
That's correct.
Networks were always active. There were frequent, if short-lived, strikes. These were generally tolerated, at least before the outbreak of war, provided the demands of the strikers were purely economic and not political. Another form of resistance was assisting German Jews. By mid-42, the deportation of German and Austrian Jews to extermination camps in occupied Poland, like maybe something like Sikot, right, was well underway. It is argued by some writers that the great majority of Germans were indifferent to the fate of Jews, and a substantial proportion supported the Nazi program of extermination. A minority persisted in trying to help Jews, even in the face of serious risks to themselves and their families. This was most pronounced in Berlin, where the Gestapo and SS were headquartered, but also where thousands of non-Jewish Berliners, some with powerful connections, risked hiding their Jewish neighbors. So yeah, it goes on. It's quite an extensive article. And, you know, I tell you what, man, I love me some Wikipedia. It does a pretty damn good job of things. So you ever want, and the founder's from Alabama.
He's from Huntsville, even.
Yeah. So yeah.
Jimmy Wales.
It looks like walls, though, right? Am I tripping?
It's spelled like it's spelled like the country and not like the animal.
Yeah. It is. God. But I don't know why, but I think of corduroy when I see his last name.
Corduroy.
Yeah, like that's the walling. That's how it's spelled. WALING. That's like what corduroy is, right? But damn it. So where are we at? We're at 45 minutes. Okay. I think I want to read this little article or go over this real quick, and then hit a couple cultural items before we wrap up. But yeah, Israeli army officers refuse to serve in unnecessary external war in Gaza. In a letter to Netanyahu, there we go. 41 signatories say government orders are clearly illegal and hostages have been given death sentence. Israeli government is issuing clearly illegal orders that must not be obeyed. In a letter addressed the regime, group of 41 officers and reservists said the government was waging an unnecessary eternal war. Said the war is designed to preserve the rule of Netanyahu and appease anti-democratic and messianic elements in his government. I like how they hit the messianic part, right?
Yep.
The signatories are not named, but are identified as members of the IDF's intelligence directorate, which played a key role in the bombings, addressing the impact of the offensive on civilians. When a government acts for ulterior motives, harms civilians, and leads to the killing of innocent people, the orders it issues are clearly illegal, and we must not obey them. Netanyahu's government has given a death sentence to the Israeli hostages held by Hamas militants in Gaza when it chose to collapse the ceasefire deal in March. The group is understood to include members of the elite military surveillance division unit 8,200 or 8,200. I don't know how they go about that. Claim that hostages may have already been killed by IDF bombings, which is the Samson Directorate? I can't remember what it's called, but they have a protocol where they'll shoot their own people rather than letting them be hostages. Organized by anti-war group Soldiers for the Hostages, litter comes amid growing dissent within certain parts of the military over the continuation of the war, an apparent increase in the number of soldiers who are refusing to fight. Hey, during Vietnam, it took soldiers, service members also to lay down their arms to help stop it. But it goes on. They add, all the death is unnecessary. The hostages suffer and die. Soldiers are sent forth for nothing. And all the killing in Gaza, everything is completely unnecessary. Could not say it better. The offensive has killed at least 55,000 people and wounded 125,000, which is like the death toll, which estimates suggest could be considerably higher. It does not separate civilians from militants. 56 hostages are still held. And yeah, the letter adds open criticism in recent months from some quarters of the military. In April, 250 reservists and alumni from Unit 8200 urged the government to end the war, that they stopped short of calling for a general refusal to serve. But apparently some folks are stopping serving. Yeah, the statement calls on every Israeli to do everything in their power to oppose the war. It says some of us will refuse to serve publicly, while many others will refuse in other non-public ways. One intelligence officer who has recently refused to serve said they could no longer participate in a war in which the military didn't think twice about harming civilians when bombing targets. I felt that it was immoral and insanely excessive. I felt that they stopped thinking and feeling, and they were willing to do everything to achieve a goal that wasn't really a real goal. And if there is a goal, it's to try to get rid of Gaza's population by any means. So, yeah. Yep. you love to see it. So soldiers in the IDF, apparently not all of them are vicious, bloodthirsty lunatics. Who would have thought? Especially with all the TikToks you see out there of them. But yeah. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see. I'm glad people are refusing to fight. Here's hoping, wishing them the best of luck, and hoping that spreads.
Yeah. Well, it seems it seems to be spreading, slowly but spreading, and it's certainly spreading around here. I saw a poll that even the conservatives are over Israel and the genocide. So, it seems like the October 7th attacks have brought to a head the situation in Palestine, and this has brought along the BDS movement and really, shown people what's been up there for a long time, right? A little side note before we get to a couple little cultural items, pop culture items. RFK fired the government's vaccine experts, got rid of the whole panel, like 17 people. And Alabama had their first measles case. So, hey, you vaccinated, dog?
Oh yeah, I've had all the shots.
Good. What about anthrax? I got anthrax. You got anthrax?
I don't think I have anthrax.
Damn.
I was never in the military. I've been out of the country, but I've had all the hepatitis shots, but I haven't had any anthrax shots I'm aware of.
Smallpox? What about smallpox?
I'm pretty sure I've had the smallpox shot.
You got the little thing up there?
Yeah, the scar from it.
Yeah. Man, that thing knocked us out, dog. We were like all sick as a dog for 2 weeks in Kuwait with that little pustule on. But yeah. So there goes the vaccine, people. Gotta love it. Something I won't be able to play, but I'm excited about. Dune Awakening is the Lisan Al-Gaib of Dune games as Steam concurrents top 140,000. So there's a new Dune game out.
I'll have to check that out. I wonder if I can figure it.
Yeah, $50. You can get in on $50. It's already launched. And it looks fun. There's sandworms. You can't ride the sandworms yet, but there's sandworms and suspensor belts and all, the lasers, and the slow blade penetrates the shield, all that good stuff. And, yeah, I hope I get to download it and play it, but I don't know if my computer will handle it either, to be honest.
The article said it was coming to the handheld console, to the console, so maybe I bought a Switch 2 when it came out.
How is that?
So far, so good. I've heard people had problems, but I haven't had any problems with it. So, I mean, they made a number of questionable decisions that I'm probably a gullible fool for buying it, but I'm a sucker for Nintendo, so.
Hey, yeah, brand imprint over here as well, for sure. And shout out Luigi, of course.
Shout out to Luigi. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart World as Luigi. We should figure out how to stream that, so I can show the whole world how bad I am at this game.
Let's do it, dog. Let's do it. We got here potential Squid Game season 4 gets definitive response, and I'm going to have to disappoint y'all a little bit that he said season 3 was the last episode of Squid Games. He said there will be no Squid Game season 4, and it releases this month, June 27th, 2025. Season 3 is dropping, and yeah, so your favorite satire of capitalism is on its way. But he did add that there might be some spinoffs. So, hey, we love a good spinoff, right?
I never saw Squid Game. I watched like no television at all.
But
I read books and play video games.
Is there not a Squid game? I thought there would be. I mean,
I'm sure
Squid
there
Game,
is.
Beast Games.
But I haven't played. I wouldn't play it because I haven't seen the show, so I don't know what's going on.
Right. And something that popped into my head while I was doing this, I saw this article: prove your real world Microsoft Excel skills with how to test. So a little test, but did you know that there's like Excel World Championships, dude?
I did not know that.
Yes. I feel like I want to watch some of them soon. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little fact that I came across. We certainly love our spreadsheets in the organizing community.
That's true.
Yeah, if you want to get good, there's some training and tests out there. Article at How to Geek. And dude, I forgot to go to the FOIA training yesterday. I didn't have it written down.
Oh man.
Dog. Fail. Fucking loser.
She'll do it again.
Yeah. But these folks, if we're talking about FOIA, this is 404media.co. Yes, free Luigi Austin. Free Luigi indeed. And these 404 folks, they are on point. And a couple little headlines before we say goodnight. But airlines don't want you to know they sold your flight data to DHS. Hey, are you that surprised? Really? Like, is there any company out there that doesn't take anything about you and just repackage it? And also, relatedly to the protests, CBP confirms it is flying Predator drones above Los Angeles to support ICE. Yeah. Wikipedia pauses AI-generated summaries after backlash, but there's this, a FOIA forum. Come learn how we got records all about an AI company working with cops. So that's on the 18th. That's next Wednesday. I would like to try to do that. That's at 1 p.m. So I'm going to open that and try to remember to do that. But yeah, CBP confirms drones are in the air. Yeah. And 2 statement follows. 404 is reporting that DHS has flown 2 Predator drones above Los Angeles, according to flight data and air traffic control. So, yeah, dude, pretty sweet. But again, are we surprised with that? No. The militarization and training with the Israeli army, all that good stuff that the cops do. Yeah. So Anything you wanna hit up before we go?
So I've been following the mayoral race in New York City.
New York.
There's a Democratic Socialist running named Zoran Mamdani.
Right.
And he is ahead of Cuomo in a recent poll. Now, it's only one poll, and you have to consider, like, it's not an average of polls, right? Like, he's been behind in most of the other polls. But
yeah, I saw 49-51 for Cuomo like a week ago.
Right. So he's according to a recent poll, he's leading Cuomo for the first time in the race. So 35% to 31% is what Mamdani is beating Cuomo by. So narrowly within the 4.1 margin of error.
Oh man. Oh man. The love-hate relationship of polls and polling.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, it's only a single poll, and the preponderance of polls have him down. But it could be that this poll is the start of a new trend, and that he'll do well in subsequent polls. Here's hoping that he does. So remember, if you live in New York and you happen to be listening to us for God knows whatever reason, remember to rank Zoran.
Do not rank Cuomo.
And do not rank noted sex pest Cuomo.
And and killer of the elderly.
Among many other epithets.
Yeah. But yes, I actually watched some of his debate, and they, of course, they dropped the. So what country would you visit after you become mayor?
I saw that.
Will you visit Israel? What do you think of Israel? Like, of course, and of all the 9 up there, he was the only one who said, I'm staying my ass in New York to be the mayor of New York, and everybody needs equal rights. And I'm not going to Israel. That's good.
Oh no, he froze. Well, this is awkward because now I have to carry the show, and I completely did not prepare for this at all. So you may wonder what business I have even being here. Oh, there he goes. Are you back?
Yes, I am back. But yeah, I wish I could vote for Zoran. Inshallah, a Muslim socialist wins mayor of New York City. Right? That would be.
Inshallah.
I'll throw an inshallah on that. We got Chris. Cuomo makes me ashamed to be both Italian and from New York. Hot shower. Hot shower would probably help that. Or maybe a cold shower. Yeah. Do the bro fitness thing.
Is that a thing?
Oh God. Oh yeah. You have not seen the routines? Wake up at 3 a.m. Facial ice bath at 3:17. Yeah, it's fucking lunacy. Yeah.
I find it exhausting to keep track. It must be exhausting to be a dude and have to worry about all that kind of stuff.
Like,
have to perform rudeness all the time.
Like, that seems like just so extra, dog. Like, we're built pretty sturdy if we do a few things. We don't need, like, how much extra shit do you really need? Like, we're from caves, right? Like, the caves worked. But, to be fair, we probably all died at 25 back then. But yeah. Well, I think that wraps it up for the first episode of SLOP. And yeah.
Next week I'll be better prepared.
You were perfectly prepared. You hit the New York City mayor thing, which I wanted to. You read my mind, brother. You read my mind. But
We'll get it together. We'll come up with the format. We'll figure it out. It'll be good. It'll be slop.
We'll hit all the good slop out there. But yeah, and you know, as we like to say around here, all the power to all the people. We the people break our chains together. Y'all get out there to them protests on the 14th all around the country. Keep your eye on you know, the ICE protests, and solidarity forever, y'all.
Solidarity forever.